Hi, my name is Maiwa Elawad. I am an immigrant from Sudan. During my time in college, I served in a not-for-profit program that was involved in art activism-based projects in communities. I was chosen as the student representative for this program and to be involved in this project because of my residency in Rochester and also having roots in Rochester. I entered a meeting facilitated with a number of key stakeholders within the community and also individuals that were running this project. There were a few mixed races within that room, myself and a few other white individuals as well. Some of the feedback that was a little bit alarming to me during that experience was, even though I was able to share my thoughts and kind of expand on what the vision of the project was, I was still getting comments that I spoke so eloquently, or I just have a very professional disposition in regards to these topics. And it's interesting because I was the only one in the group to receive this feedback, and the person that brought it to my attention was actually my mentor at the time, who identified as white. And I usually used to think that in these spaces, that kind of comment meant that I was professional enough to be in those settings. But as I continued to receive that feedback, I began to realize that that is kind of condescending in a way as well. At first, it made me feel as if, questioning myself and my professionalism. Why would I not be able to articulate my thoughts in regards to that project in that space? And also, it made me feel belittled in a sense of I was chosen to be in that position and fulfill that role for a reason. So my presence in that space also made me feel like I was, in a sense, the token individual as to what was so interesting about me being in that space was that I spoke so eloquently in regards to the project. So not necessarily understanding that this is my work, that I have volunteered with this not-for-profit program, the many community-based projects in many other communities, and engaged with larger crowds. So not only is this my field of expertise, this is also my passion. So talking about this comes to me more naturally, in a sense that I can still talk about it in a professional setting and still connect with the individuals that may not be in that professional setting. So by giving me the affirmation that I spoke so eloquently, kind of made me question a little bit as to why would I not speak eloquently about something that I'm involved in and I'm passionate about. And more importantly, I saw the vision and the mission of that project as something very important to the community. When we talk about race and our identities, interestingly for me, when I came to the States and as I grew up to understand more about myself, I've always identified and introduced myself as a Sudanese woman. And interestingly, from individuals in the Black and African American community, I was either accepted sometimes or rejected sometimes. So the narrative of me being rejected really began, and me realizing this really began in elementary school, when in the lunch line, the girls would pull my hair and ask me if it was real. Or there would be comments questioning on, did we have shoes when I was there and we would play outside? Is it true that a lot of people are hungry? Are the pictures that are depicted in the media true? As I grew up, I saw that the narrative changed a little bit, but it still had the same message. In high school, I've had interesting experiences where it was kind of interesting, this exotic experience where I was looked at as I think again, a token individual that encompassed the identity with the motherland, quote unquote. I was also someone that had the curly hair, so it was a little bit different. And the skin tone, and I always got comments on my facial features versus more on my identity than an individual being Sudanese in the cultural premises that I brought with me and still practice every day. So the conversations were generally shallow, based more on my future presence versus my identity and my deep-rootedness. But even now, I still struggle with that identity and kind of checking the race box. In the white people's eyes, I am seen as a Black African American person, and or my features do stand out to them, and they may recognize that I may not be a native from the United States, and then I get the narrative that it seems like I am the exception to the African American black rule, in which I am then looked at as like, oh, you're successful because your people, immigrants, also pursue more opportunities when they're brought to them, right? We work harder. We are serious about our education, all those things. So I see how those biases influence me as well. But also on the black community, I'm also seen as, again, the individual from the motherland. So sometimes that differences in my cultures and in our cultures may be discussed, but generally it's more of the connection to the motherland. So I see how that fantasized depiction of what African is and how individuals that identify as black and African American may want to identify with that, but they don't know necessarily what to look for or the right questions to ask. However, when it really comes down to the race, in my culture and in my country, I've never identified as black or African American. It has always been based on your ethnicity. What do you as an individual bring to the table? What are your people known for? Even if you're not wealthy, it's not about the wealth. It's again about the way that communities share things among each other. One example I have is if I needed sugar to bake a cake or cook something and I didn't have any, you could go next door, knock at your neighbors, borrow some sugar, and whatever you cook, you would share with them as well. And I think that those are things that I've carried with me so much forth till right now, that even until today when I'm asked am I black or African American, I don't know what to say, but I've learned to train myself. So if it's a black or African American person asking me if I'm black or African American, I know that it's okay for me to disclose my ethnicity as well. But when it comes to white individuals, generally they want to just hear black or African American, because due to the way that race is structured in this country. To me, equity means looking at individuals based on their needs and also meeting them where they need to be met, disregarding of any systems, policies, or even our own biases. So I would say that equity to me means really making sure that individuals in our community are able to be heard, represented, and present in important spaces and conversations, that their voices matter, and more importantly, being able to leverage the power to make decisions about things that pertain to you. So we do not want to exclude anyone, and I believe equity is really treating people for who they are and how they would like to be treated, and looking at the different ways that we can be together in communities amidst our differences and celebrate our similarities as well. From here, I think we have a lot of work to do, but the conversation doesn't start now and it doesn't stop now. I believe that from here we can move forward by making sure that we are having those difficult conversations, challenging ourselves, and looking at the interpersonal biases that we may hold towards others in our community. I think that from here we have a chance to really change things and the narrative for our younger generations and generations to come. But the change really starts with us as individuals, and it is going to be asking, what do I need to do of myself, to make sure that I am not perpetuating the same narratives that have been hurting our communities.